Just when you think I've squeezed all of the juice out of the Tony Hawk fruit, I put an encyclopedia-sized book on it, plop down on it with my big old baboon cheeks, and make that thing look like a flat Stanley to get every last drop out. And this last drop I squeezed out is something I can hardly find any documentation on, so I guess that's my job now. The whole purpose of that last sentence was to lure back in all the people I scared away with the opening with baboon cheeks thing. Not the best idea I've ever had. But seriously, this is barely documented. Google doesn't bring up much. I found a single YouTube Let's Play that shows it, but nowhere else can I find an essay or a review or a backstory on what I am calling the secret career of Tony Hawk's Underground. Okay, I'll quit burying the lead here. The secret career actually isn't much of a secret at all, but it is something that a lot of veteran players like me that have been playing Thug for 20 years have never even glanced at, even though it was right in plain sight the whole time on the main menu. What I'm referring to is the Play Goals button located directly below the Free Skate button. Hold on, don't click array yet. I promise this gets interesting. For the uneducated on the purpose of this button, it is to show off Thug's latest addition to the Creation Suite. The THPS franchise always thrived on being a playground of creativity, from looks to parks to skate lines, but just like Forrest Gump said, life is like a Pokemon and everything must evolve to stay relevant and cool, I think. So in the fifth installment of the series, they took the next logical step in creation, pasting a grainy, dark reddish 240p image of your face onto your character. Just kidding, that's in the next game. Create a goal. They also added create a trick, but that really doesn't pertain to what we're talking about today. But it does show they were just kind of like, you know how you buy this game every year for new goals and new tricks? Well, now you can do it yourself and have endless Tony Hawk game. Then we'll still sell you a new one in 11 months, and you'll buy it because it has Bam on the cover and Steve-O in it, so you're influenced to buy it anyways because you saw that guy drink a beer with his butthole on cable television. I'm on a 2-video streak of butthole jokes. I'm really hoping that doesn't become a trend. And that is all information that anyone who has played this series will already know. Something else you may know is that every entry in the series since Create a Park has started has come with a set of pre-made parks to show you what can be done with the park creator, and also give you a few extra places to do a kickflip. Like, for example, the only one that appears in every single game, Montana. Yeah, is this Montana? Hey, have you guys heard of Arbor Day? Well, would you believe they did the same thing with Create a Goal? You should. They did it for every other creative mode. I mean, look at these ugly pre-made schlubs for Create a Skater. Dear God, they did some terrible stuff to you. The Ninja's thief. So logically, they were mixing these pre-made parks with a set of pre-made goals, the other like buffet gravy that you're trying to get the film off the top of. And at the end of that, you're left with a full 9-park career. That's right. 9 parks. That's the exact same amount as the regular set for the normal career, and one of those doesn't even have goals. It just has Kiss. So you're really getting one more, but one of these is Montana, so it's about the same. No, it has nothing to do with boats. Not David Harbor either. No, like arbor, like with trees. The 9 parks pre-made by developers for Underground listed in order are Skatechupitchu, Slacka-Land, Ville, AndyTHPS Park, Fontucky Speedway, Montana Underground, DDT Underground, Jyland 3, and Skate Mountain. Each of these having varying amount of goals and also the varying amounts of efforts put into both the goals and the parks themselves. But they're all made by people that worked on the game, so none of them can really be that bad, right? Diving into each one of these is interesting because since they are made by developers and level designers, they're kind of made with the same mindset as the game's normal levels. But they are also made with the create a goal and park tools, so they require a certain level of suspension of disbelief. We'll start with the first park, Skatechupitchu, a park that is set on an island at night, primarily vert when it comes to skatable terrain, 4 bowls in the center with some rails and half pipes surrounding the elevated center, with the occasional lava strip. Yeah, strip, I think seems like the best way to describe this lava shape. But where that suspension of disbelief comes in is the goals. All of the goals in these parks are one of a few types: high scores, high combos, skate letters, combo letters, trick lists, and gap goals, which is kind of the format of how the regular goals work. But they have a little more freedom than we do with the create a goal system. This first park is a great place to start because it features one of each type, with the first goal here free gold. The guy that gives you the gold, whose name is Tomb Robber, tells you that there's gold in them there hills, and he'll split it with you if you collect it. And then when the goal starts, the gold is just skate letters. There's lots of gold being unearthed around here. If you can help me steal it, we'll split it 50-50. My brother in Christ, that right there is a letter K. But other goals like the next one, Temple Relics, he just flat out asks you to collect the combo letters for his museum, so there's absolutely zero consistency across any of these. But that Neversoft sense of humor is present here still, as you can see the curator telling you after you've collected them that those skate letters are cursed. Thanks. The rest of these goals continue on with the wackiness displayed in the others we've already done, like getting a high score so you can communicate with aliens, and raising an ancient evil god with a high score combo, or destroying the world by doing gaps over lava, and even doing skate tricks that an archaeologist found hieroglyphic depictions of. It's pure nonsense here, which features a varial kickflip. You're telling me that the ancient Incas were doing enough of varial kickflips that they made their own version of Thrasher magazine on the inside of temple walls? Every bit of this is nonsense. The next park, Slacka-Land, features grindables and a few quarter pipes around the edges of the park, with a center area in a pit and a giant fun box with quarter pipes surrounding the edges. This park is also set at night, but instead of an island, it's a prison. So it does appear that after 5 entries in the series, Officer Dick finally got a bust. Good job, buddy. You earned it. The goals here are a little more fun and challenging than the previous park, with the park itself having a better flow and more options for both styles. But unfortunately, the goals aren't themed here. All the names of the characters are just the type of goal that they give you, but the text is still kind of funny. The skate letter guy asks you to collect the skate letters for him before he gets hungry. So guess this dude eats skate letters. I bet he would go cuckoo for some alphabet soup. The combo letters has an ominous bit about some people coming for you in the letters. And for the rest of the goals, they're all just sexual innuendos. I told you that Neversoft humor is still present in all of these. The next park, SPsville, might be my favorite of the bunch. Based in a town in the daylight, it feels reminiscent of Jersey. And that may be because it uses house assets from Jersey, but it's also just a small town with roads through it and real objects used as skate obstacles. So it kind of feels like an actual park from the main game. This park also feels like it utilizes the space the best and uses every bit of this fenced-in square it can. The goals once again fit into the theme, and we start off with a vehicle mission first, where they use the skate letters as checkpoints with the goal given to you by Carboy. That is the absolute worst superhero name I've ever heard. The task for this one is just getting around the town by the time limit, but the time limit you have is so small that you have to do every single turn exactly perfect or you will fail and need to restart. An issue I never had, clearly, as you can see by the footage on screen. The rest of these involve things like getting off your board and climbing to the top of a building to acid drop off, combo letters, but given in a way that the letters are more like markers and less of an actual object, like the way they do in the game. And there are a lot more skate letter and gap goals used in creative ways, like making the letters a skate line, or using them as markers to mark the highest jump on a Baja. But then we'll just rear right on into the next park, AndyTHPS Park, which is a title that has as much thought put into it as I would expect from Andy. That is not a diss. I love Andy. He's the best. But based off his personality, I expect nothing less. Who knows what time of day it's set in, as it is set inside of a warehouse? And I don't know how I could possibly describe this park verbally. It has quarter pipes, rails, and tables all through the middle of it that kind of connect, but also don't connect at all, with a huge front boxish ramp on one side and a rail that goes all the way through the middle of it. This park is also where I realized these aren't listed in any order of difficulty at all, because this is by far the hardest park, which is also what I would completely expect from Andy. Starting with an insane triple kickflip over 2 picnic tables that seems almost impossible to get enough jump height to clear over the gap, then a surprisingly reasonable combo letter line, before having the next goal be get a 1 million point combo. Are you serious? This is the 4th level in the set of pre-made goals? And the last goal is this tiny heel flip over a table. I don't know what that is. Why, Andy? Why? This is nonsense. But after beating my head onto the wall trying to get that 1 million point combo, next up is the halfway point, the Fontucky Speedway. which is basically a racetrack and some pools with the space to get under the racetrack on it. And that's like all this is. This one has a lot more goofy jokes for goal descriptions and a race around the track. It's nothing to write home about, but it's not necessarily bad. You just drive around a car and jump into some pools. That's about it. But for the next one, you're going to want to hold on to your hat because it's the Based in a Town Classic Montana, also known as One Tree Flat, a park that thrives on the least creative energy possible. Yeah, it's nothing but a tree in the middle. And the goals here are simple, but also difficult to perform because the only object to trick off of is a single tree. And these goals have about as much work put into them as everything else in month. Like, they didn't even name this guy. His birth certificate says created goal. Would you be surprised to find out this park has a vehicle mission? I sure was. Montana is truly a work of art, and as always, is an absolute delight to play. No, Arbor Day. You know what, Montana? Just forget it. I don't even care about the environment anymore. I'm gonna go open a Thneed factory. In the home stretch, we come to DDT, another name we've seen several times across the series. This one has a bit of a volcano vibe to it, but is also set inside of a building for some reason. It has giant kicker ramps on all of the corners, with quarter pipes on all four sides, and a large structure in the center surrounded by a lava moat. It's got a real aggro crag vibe to it.
Avalanches, slime floods, water in your face, smoke up your nose and in your eyes.
Where my Mike O'Malley fans at. I wanted to be on Guts so bad as a kid, but I have the athletic ability of a nickel. Yeah, the coin. They don't do very good in sports. Now the quarter, that guy's a superstar. I have entirely lost the plot of what I'm doing here. Now the goals here are given to you with like a straight up description like get the high score or complete nonsense like find the tricky gap. Or even some terrible low hanging fruit joke like Soap Droppa telling you he'll watch you from behind as you collect the skate letters. Think I'm all good on DDT. Let's move on. Ooh, to Jyland 3. I'm unsure if Jyland 1 and 2 existed. I didn't do my research. And like I said, I never played these pre-made parks as a kid for more than like a second. This is another town map, but not one as well made as SP's Ville. This one is just a really big circle road around some buildings and a hodgepodge of tunnels and rails. It is borderline impossible to get a combo going anywhere here except for grinding around the edges. The goals this time are as specific as they could possibly be by them telling you collect the skate letters floating in midair and saying collect the letters that spell out combo. Like they're just beating you over the head with what the exact description is. They just thought the best way to do this was to tell you exactly what they wanted you to do. There was also a massive drop in difficulty around these last few parks, so there is clearly no rhyme or reason to the order here. It just is. Dr. Seuss would be pissed. He loves rhymes. Dr. Pepper, now he wouldn't have an opinion. His only concern is trying to sell you something that he won't tell you the flavor of. But finally, here we are. We have reached the end of this journey with easily the least functional and wildly designed park, Skate Mountain. Now, class, any guesses as to what this park is? That's right, Skate Mountain is a completely unskateable mountain. There are a few little sections you can skate on this absolute mess, but this one is mostly for walking and for show. You could tell someone was like, what if we made a big mountain? And that was the whole idea. And yeah, that might make a little bit of sense for a game that is introducing the getting off your board and climbing mechanic for the first time. But looking at the context that I'm putting this whole video in, of this being a career that's ending with this basically parkour park, feels kind of like a lackluster ending for a skateboarding game. That would be like ending it with just a big half pipe or something. Who would do that? But this one does go back to that suspension of disbelief, like pretending that the skate letters are mountain climbing gear. And figuring out the puzzle of this map can be fun. It's just kind of a whack ending. Now, I know these aren't supposed to be played in any order at all, and they are not actually their own career, but through the lens that I presented them in and that they also presented them in to me, it definitely feels like they could be a career, and they really are. It was actually kind of exciting to have something that was new to one of my favorite games of all time. It was almost like they put a DLC in the game and I missed it for 20 years. And it just makes me feel good to have that experience. But that covers all there is to know about the secret career mode of Tony Hawk's Underground. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time documenting this stuff. If you like this, please let me know if that's the case. Maybe we can dive into one of the other pre-made careers in Thug 2 or Thaw. Also, let me know if you have any memories with these pre-made goals or parks that I always looked over as a kid. Not a single memory up in here. Who are you? Can't you see the hat? Clearly, I'm you as a kid that never played these that's come here to the future to correct that mistake. First off, that makes absolutely zero sense. You are literally from the time that I missed out on these, so there is no need for you to time travel. And second, and most important, it can't be good for our shared mental well being for you to know that 20 years later, you're a grown adult who owns a home and has the ability to, at any time he wants to, get in a car and go do anything you wanted, and instead is making a YouTube video about the same video game he's been playing for 20 years. Oops. Took a little long explaining that one, didn't I? It's okay, there wasn't much in that brain to begin with. Well, if you enjoyed watching a man with the ability to do anything he wants and chooses to talk about a 2-decade-old video game and want to enjoy more of that, I'll put some more recordings of me talking alone in my spare bedroom up on the screen here. If you really like it here, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread a virus. I'm the virus in question here, and come hang out with me on streams. I'm always live on Friday night. All right, I think that's it. Goodbye, friends. Yeah, quit knocking that over. Fontucky